unfortunately, once again, I've missed a chunk out because I was having problems with the camera interface. But I'll try and talk you through this. This is how you balance the carbs on the VS1400. There is a screw in the back of the carb. I will show you the position of that later, but you take the fuel tap, you undo the fuel tap and push it to one side, and then you can take the screw out of the, it's on the inlet of the carb, it's right at the very front of the carb. You can take that screw out. It's normally a big brass screw. On this one it's actually something different, but that's just the way it is. You connect your vacuum pipe, your vacuum adapter from your vacuum gauges, then you connect your vacuum gauge onto that one, and then on the front cylinder, you've actually got a little capillary that fits to a rubber pipe, and that little capillary is in there on the inlet rubber between the cylinders. Now what you do is you loosen this screw off. The first thing you do is loosen off this screw, loosen the lock nut and loosen the screw off slightly so that it's not affecting the tick over, because what you want to do is set the tick over on the knurled screw and the two cables first, so that way you get it ticking over correctly using the knurled screw at just a very slightly slower speed. You've got to get the engine warm first, but a very slightly lower speed than you want it to tick over, so that when you've got the vacuum gauges correct for tick over and for the high speed for high revving, you then screw this screw up until it just touches the, see if I can get a lamp in there so I can show. It pushes a cam that pushes the tick over plate round very slightly, and if you can see that, but you want that one to just touch, so it's not actually lifting it, it's just touching it, and then tighten the lock nut up. And what you're looking to achieve, I will show you on the vacuum gauges. Just about spot on. Right, what was I going to show? That screw thread, I think it was, wasn't it? Anyway, what you do to adjust them, obviously I've adjusted this one because I wasn't getting the camera working while I was actually doing it. But what you do is you start off by balancing the tick over. So you start off by looking at your vacuum gauges and seeing which one's pulling up first. So if the front one's pulling up first, then what you've got to do is either loosen this one, this cable here, turn him in so that he loosens slightly and lets the tick over off, or you can tighten up the one round the other side slightly. And really that's determined by, very hard to see this one, but really that would be determined by just how much you've got on the knurled screw. I tell a lie, actually, this one's not adjustable. So yeah, you do all the adjustment. I was thinking of the throttle cables. You do the adjustment on that one. And when you wind up this knurled screw here, this knurled screw is a positive throttle stop for the rear carburetor, and it's a cable throttle stop for the front one, which is why you have to adjust that other screw, because once you've got it how you want it on the cable, then you've got to bring that one up so that it's a positive stop. Otherwise, sometimes when you shut the throttle out, the bike will cut out. Then when you've done your tick over and you've got your tick over even on the vacuum gauges, then you start on your throttle and you open the throttle, and what you'll see is you'll see one gauge will go up and one gauge will go down. That's because you've got an imbalance. The gauge that goes up will be telling you that that one's opening first, and the gauge that goes down isn't opening. So what you then do is again decide on the position of your throttle adjusters which one you're going to adjust. Are you going to loosen the back one, or are you going to loosen the front one? You work that out. Like I say, I go by how evenly the throttle adjusters are. If one's almost on the end, then I'll loosen this one off and tighten that one up, or whatever. But you basically adjust them until you've got both the gauges on the vacuum gauges, till you've got them both doing the same thing at the same time. And you use these are dampers. You close off these dampers. I mean, these ones here are glycerin ones, which are a hell of a lot more accurate, but I just don't like them. I've worked with them, don't like them. So I tend to use these simple ones. These ones, just don't get on with them. So yeah, that's basically it. And I'll show you where this screw goes. Basically, you just tighten these in finger tight, because they've got O-rings on the end of them, so the O-ring will make a seal. But you need I mean, they're only these are really expensive vacuum gauges. These ones are cheap as chips. I think they're about £40 for a set of those. So it's a useful thing to have in any toolkit. And the other thing which is very useful is having a small pot like this with a tap on it, so that you don't have to put the tank back on, which would be an absolute arse. So yeah, that's basically that. I'll show you where this, so you can see where this screw goes in. See, that's the rear carburetor, and that is, you can see where he tightens up onto the manifold, where he goes onto the rubber manifold. So you get the idea of where that is. Like I say, normally it would be a brass screw and a washer and a copper washer in there, but someone had put something strange in there, so I've replaced it with an Allen bolt and a copper washer. Same effect. It's only a little short thing, so try not to drop it. There you go, you can see where that sits in there. I'll see if I can get the lamp in so you can see where the one at the front goes. Right, there's my vacuum gauge pipe off, and that's the original pipe that's got to go back on. Go. I've just got to put the tank back on, side panels back on, seat back on. He's ready to go. Just a footnote, when you are connecting up, you need to make sure that you're actually connected to the, well, you can connect up to reserve tank. This one on the right hand side is your reserve tank, and that one on the left hand side is your normal on. So easy way to tell is just pick up one of the pipes and just put your mouth to it and just put a little bit of pressure on it, and then turn the tap from off to on, and you can feel a little bit of air go through it. You can feel it, a little bit of resistance less. But that's the setup. Is the setup from here is the right hand pipe goes up to the left hand side of the tank, the left hand side of the tank tap, and the left hand one goes up to the right hand side of the tank tap. And if you're taking everything off, if you're taking the carbs off and everything, it's best to take this off and take these right out, so that when you put it back in, you put the carb back on first and then put these in. Otherwise you might find they get trapped behind the carb. They should be nice and loose like that, so they can move around. Okay, I think that's everything to remember. The only other thing that is often a pain in the backside is getting this choke back into place properly. That's for another video.